America's Heartland is made possible by Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. Crop Life America, representing the companies whose modern farming innovations help America's farmers provide nutritious food for communities around the globe.
Hi, I'm Jason Shoultz. Is there cereal on your breakfast table? Do you like pizza? How about rice cakes if you're looking to lose a few pounds? Coming up, we go for the grain. We'll take you to Nebraska. It may be known as the Cornhusker State, but one farm family finds its future in wheat. We'll step into the cornfield with an Indiana family where two sons convinced their dad to come back to the farm. We'll take you to Morocco, where U.S. grain plays a significant role in feeding both people and animals. And this Idaho family brings in a grain crop that goes into the beer you drink. It's all coming up on America's Heartland.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
No matter what your taste in foods, it's a good bet that grains make up a significant portion of your diet. America's corn, wheat, rice, and barley farmers harvest more than 130 million acres of grains each year, and more of that is heading to your dinner table. Bread products take up lots of shelf space at any supermarket, and that's just one of hundreds of products using grains from U.S. farms. American farmers export more than $115 billion in farm products each year, and grains make up a major portion of that total. Farmers will raise some 20 billion pounds of rice alone in states like Arkansas and California. About half of that crop goes to foreign markets. But while the U.S. produces less than 2% of the world's rice, it ranks among the top 5 rice exporting nations. So let's introduce you to some farmers meeting those production demands. Good weather and technology are important in guaranteeing a crop for consumers, but our Rob Stewart says family also plays a major role on one Indiana farm.
It's a quiet early August morning in Greenwood, Indiana, and the sun is just breaking through the thick stalks of green in this central Indiana cornfield. Welcome to Indy Family Farms, just outside of Indianapolis. It's the setting for the story of a man who's returning to his roots. That's not unusual on a farm when the next generation takes over the land, but in this case, it's Dad that came home to help his son's business grow.
That's a good-looking field of corn.
Rob Richards and his sons, Eric and Aaron, are now the 3 backbones of Indy Family Farms. But it hasn't always been this way.
Always knew I wanted to come back to the farm, and the boys had done a great job of growing the business, and they want it to be their career. And I thought I'd just come back and I could bring my business expertise back, offload Eric and Aaron of some of those duties so that they could focus more on the operations side. This was tied to the problems we were having.
After decades off the family farm, Rob is working side by side with his sons. Rob grew up on this land, but left after college for a quarter-century career in the telecom industry.
Having Dad back is one of the best things we have going for us. You know, me and Eric grew this business for 10 years, and always wanted to work with my dad.
We farm 12,000 acres, and about 80% is corn.
Eric Richards is the operations manager of Indy Family Farms, which leases, plants, and harvests thousands of acres owned by other people.
Our farm's different. We run it as a business, and kind of our gadget we produce is corn. It just run as a business with numbers, and we have to make an income to keep going.
All right, so we're going to start over here, then we'll move here probably next.
This map shows just how sprawling their business venture is, spanning across 50 miles of Indiana farmland.
You know, our goal is to exceed landowner expectations, not just meet landowners. And we think that we're taking an approach that is right for this time, and that is that the landowners are our customers.
But their business emerged from very different beginnings 15 years ago. That's when Eric and Aaron took over the family farm, with their grandfather as their mentor.
You were 19 years old.
I was 19 and my brother was 17, and we took over when my uncle had moved to Illinois.
That's a load to carry.
Yeah, the farm wasn't the same size it is now, of course, but yeah, for getting started that young, it was a big job.
Their hard work has paid off. Indiana is one of the top 5 corn-producing states in the nation, and a quick look at their fields gives a hint of the harvest.
Let's open this up. How long has this been growing?
We planted this the last week of May.
Look at there. That is
Yeah.
just beautiful. Now, where will this corn go?
It'll end up for either animal feed or ethanol.
So all over the world.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be able to produce a crop that literally will leave here from Indianapolis and go worldwide?
Oh, it just makes me feel proud, because we, you know, I know all the work and money that goes into producing that corn, that ear of corn. So to me, it's a little different, you know, because I know what it takes to do all the work.
I'll get you, girl.
Hard work has brought this family together on the land once more. These little ones are the 6th generation here. Gathering close to one of the farm's original barns, the Richards are glad Dad is home for good.
To get to go up and give him a hug and tell him hello every day is worth every penny. And he brings such a great business dynamic to the farm with being in corporate America for so long. He knows big numbers and big budgets, and it actually allows me and Eric to come out and farm and do what we do best.
And as for Rob, being back with his boys is never far from this new farmer's heart.
I just say how incredibly proud I am of what they've done and the men they've grown up to be.
You may know that Indiana is called the Hoosier State, but do you know what a Hoosier is? The word dates back to the early days of the 19th century, but despite extensive research, there is no definitive definition on how Hoosier came to be. Let's give you a couple of sure things, however, when it comes to Indiana history. The first successful goldfish farm in the United States was opened in Indiana in 1899. And if you like popcorn, Indiana is the place to be. It's one of the most important popcorn-producing states in the nation, growing hundreds of millions of pounds of popcorn each year.
Now, corn may be the #1 farm crop in America, but wheat is also important to farmers and consumers. That's because wheat is found in almost every product on your kitchen shelf. Breads, pasta, pizza, and cereal are obvious, but you'll also find wheat in sauces, soups, ground spices, desserts, salad dressing, cheese spread, and even beer. Akiba Howard travels to Nebraska, where growing the golden grain involves more than just one generation.
Scott Moore knows that it takes much more than just seed and rain to create the basic ingredient for that loaf of bread on your dinner table. Raising wheat is a year-round effort. His farm makes up just a fraction of the 1 3/4 million acres planted in Nebraska. Working alongside his father Stan, Scott counts on everyone's help to get the crop to market.
Hard work's great. It's been a struggle in certain points, and I'd like the kids to not be able to have to struggle as much as Carl and I have, but I don't want complacency to set in either, that it's easy, it's too easy. You want to check the flow meter?
Scott, a 3rd-generation farmer, is helping his kids, 9-year-old Katie and 12-year-old Zach, learn the farming business on land where his grandfather started back in the 1920s. Over the years, he and his father have amassed a 7,000-acre spread that includes corn, soybeans, winter wheat, and 350 head of cattle.
There is no greater compliment to a farmer than to have his son choose to come back on the farm and work with him. We work with each other ultimately about 365 days a year.
Is that all we got?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't look very hard. And maybe some over there.
Running a farming operation these days demands attention to not only crop markets, but energy costs, environmental concerns, sustainable farming practices, and machinery issues. As Scott works the land,
Hey, Riley, you got a minute? Yeah.
his wife Carla works full-time 30 miles away as an agent for a farm insurance company. And when that workday is done, she's back home with another set of obligations and challenges for the farm
Lunch is ready. Let's go, guys.
and her family.
She gets parts picked up in town, runs after us all the time, helps me irrigate, helps us work cattle, does about everything that's possible she can do. Couldn't handle it without her.
Carla says helping her husband has become second nature.
We can drive down the interstate from here to Lincoln, and he can tell me what was planted in every field along the way for the past 2 to 3 years. And, you know, so just the agriculture stuff that he has, it's in his brain, it's just how he's wired.
And is that one pretty crunchy?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this head is ready to go.
Okay.
So this would be ready to harvest.
To improve his soil and forestall erosion, Scott has implemented a no-till approach, planting as he plows under the remains of last year's crop.
And if you still look down in the ground here, you can still see this is last year's wheat stubble.
Right.
It was standing up here just as tall as right here. And then this is the corn stalk from the year before that.
Oh, okay.
Just laying all down there. And what we're building, if we dig a little farther, see all this is all this is humus and everything that's on the soil. And that turns into fertilizer, and also if it rains or hard or anything, no erosion. No soil's gonna move. It's gonna hit that, bounce off, deflect, and then settle back in.
Recognition from your peers is important in confirming that your efforts have made a difference. That recognition came recently as Scott and Carla were picked as the best of Nebraska's young farmers and ranchers. A nod to their efforts in the past and to their plans for their family farm in the future.
To put your operation up against other people in the state, and for that panel of judges to say, yeah, I think you're the #1 this year, you know, it's a great ego boost, but you know, it's just an amazing honor to be recognized.
Nebraska is one of the top agricultural states in the nation, but the state's expansive farmland was not always viewed as productive. Some early European explorers mistakenly considered those wide open spaces as the Great American Desert.
I mentioned U.S. grain exports earlier in the show. Selling American farm products to people overseas not only secures foreign markets, it can provide a means for improving diplomatic relations. Also provides significant nutritional benefits. Take, for example, one program to Morocco that benefits both people and animals.
Morocco, a North African nation with vibrant cities like Casablanca, snow-capped mountains, and vast dry desert land. 40% of the 33 million people here live in rural areas. Incomes in these areas are based largely on agriculture, and the majority of people living in these areas are poor.
This is the open-air market in Gourdin, Morocco. Take a look around. Farmers bring their cattle here 1, 2, 3 at a time, and they auction them off. Think about the challenges that you face when trying to change this sort of activity. It's been done this way here for centuries.
Every farmer who needs to cash in money would bring in 1 or 2 or more animals to the market to sell. And with the cash, he will buy things that are needed for the family for the rest of the week or even beyond.
Folks will see this and they'll think that it looks like a step back in time.
Yeah, for sure. This is the banking system in the rural communities in this part of the world is still very rudimentary.
For dairy farmers like Amusin Muhammad, the long-established customs and markets are a way of life. He purchased 3 milking cows in 1995. Small farmers like Muhammad often barely get by on their own. But look around his small farm and you see signs of change and a better life for his family. A more modern milking parlor, expanded barns for the cows, a new addition for his home, complete with a personal computer.
Are you happy with the success that you've had? You've really grown pretty considerably.
Yeah. Thanks to God, indeed, we had improved, dairy production has improved our lives a lot.
Muhammad intends to someday have 80 milking cows. He credits his membership in a dairy cooperative for improving his bottom line and ultimately his family's life. A visit to a farm near El Jadida shows us the past, present, and potential future for cattle farming here. Abdel Fattah Amar is converting his operation from confined tethered cattle to a modern open-style feedlot. Mustafa explains why.
Research has shown that animals that are free can gain better, and it's better meat quality, better market values.
Look, we're not here to impose a production practice or a model that is a U.S. model, but what we're trying to do is to improve their production practices.
So it's clear that programs are improving lives on the ground here, but are they really helping U.S. farmers? A visit to a chicken farm in Morocco provides some answers. The growth of the Moroccan poultry industry is tied to U.S. efforts in the 1990s. That's when the U.S. Grains Council helped poultry farmers form an association. The chicken farmers lobbied the government to reduce corn import tariffs. Now modern-style poultry operations like this one are popping up across the countryside. Khardin Susi is the association's president.
You know, anytime you're asking people to change the way they do things that they've been doing for generations, it's a challenge. That's the way it is around the world. Has it been a challenge to convince people to adopt these practices?
Yes, it's always a challenge to, you know, people naturally doesn't like change. We have the resistance to change. But if you show them by a calculation, a small calculation, that if they invest X, they will get more money. So it takes some time, but we have good results.
Since 2005, basically they work 24 hours a day, seven days a week, I mean non-stop.
And that translates into higher grain prices for farmers and evidence agricultural trade associations say of the success of their overseas efforts. But developing overseas markets is a long-term investment with payoff that isn't always immediate. Evidenced as we explore the market for wheat in Morocco. Here, Casablanca residents bring their wheat to small neighborhood mills to be milled for baking at home. The raw wheat arrives by bike, car.
They're even bringing wheat in a taxi.
Yeah, especially because, you know, I said that the area, you know, where traditional mills are found in popular areas, so people do not have cars or so they bring, you know, they buy wheat, 1 kilo or more, and then they put it for, it's a culture.
On first blush, it's hard to see where large-scale efforts could find a market for U.S. wheat imports in this kind of system. But compare the traditional corner mill to the Tria mill not far away. This is where U.S. wheat producers see a growing opportunity. And it's why in 1994, U.S. Wheat Associates invested millions of dollars to partner in a wheat milling school in Casablanca. The U.S. can't compete on price against closer producers, but the school here helps millers recognize and utilize the value of specific types of higher quality wheat to be milled for specialty breads and pastries.
The technology we learned from the school teaches us how to deal with the two standards and the two wheats to get a good quality product.
Corner bakeries like this one with high-end pastry products are popular. Moroccans eat more than twice as many wheat-based products per capita than people in the United States. So even if the overall market share for U.S. wheat is just over 10%, it adds up to more than 11 million bushels of wheat a year.
If you're sitting down to dinner in Morocco, it's a good bet that couscous will be on the menu. Couscous is a staple food in many countries surrounding the Mediterranean. In fact, it's often considered the national dish of North Africa. Couscous is made from tiny granules of durum wheat that are steamed and served with chicken, beef, or vegetables.
We've served up corn, wheat, and rice, but how about barley? If you're from the South, you may have enjoyed barley in recipes like Hoppin' John or barley soup. Nutritionists love barley because the whole grain is loaded with fiber. But if you've not had barley in a main dish recipe, you may have had barley in a beverage. Rob Stewart says depending on what you're drinking, that barley may have come from one family farm in Idaho.
Wheat is what usually comes to mind when you see images like this. But here in St. Anthony, Idaho, the amber waves of grain are all about barley.
We have the capacity to cut a lot of barley if it'll just get to the right moisture level.
This is Crapo Farms, where the 5 Crapo brothers, their sons and grandsons, will plant and harvest some 8,000 acres of barley, a golden glow that extends to the horizon.
Your barley is used for malt to go to beer.
We contract with 3 of the major malting companies, and those companies have some of their own varieties. The companies actually develop these varieties. They have light beer, they have different brews.
And a lot of it comes from this right here, the barley in your field.
Yeah, it does.
This late August afternoon is the first day of harvest for a barley crop that went into the ground in mid-April. Using GPS automated machinery, this family of farmers will comb the fields. As with many crops across the Heartland, harvest is often a race against the elements.
See, we've had some days where we've had some high winds. We've had 40, 50-mile gusts. And when the barley is this ripe, it will shatter the heads and the kernels will fall on the ground.
So weather's a big deal?
The big deal is it's going on the ground and you don't get it.
The Crapos have been farming for more than a century. George's grandfather started the farm with just 15 acres. They will raise a variety of crops, potatoes, and alfalfa. But on this afternoon, the buzz is all about barley.
Okay, you guys, is this thing ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
The harvest season holds a special attraction for young Colby Crapo. That's because when autumn turns to winter, Colby will jump from combine driving to professional snowmobile racing.
It works good because in the summer we farm, and then after everything's all harvested, then I can go back and race, and then when that's over, we come back and go farm.
Your dad told me this is what you wanted to do since you were 9 years old. You just knew.
Yeah, I've always loved doing it. I liked to be with my dad when I was just a little kid, and then just always kind of liked it.
When I grew up, when you went to work driving a tractor, that's what you did, is drive a tractor. Nowadays, we have GPS-driven machines, and you hit a button and it comes into line and drives itself. So agriculture is changing, but it's exciting and it's fun. And it's a real exciting field if you have the courage and the guts to go for it.
That fortitude and sticking together when times are tough are part of what's kept this family farming since the early 1900s. But also important to them is a focus on the land that provides their crops.
Sustainability and keeping the soil fertile and preserving our water rights, all of these issues are very important to us. We are true environmentalists. We're on the ground every day, and we do everything we can think to do to make this farm stay viable. None of us are too proud to go help the other guy, and I feel like that tradition has been handed down. on this farm, if there's a problem, it's everybody's problem.
And that's going to do it for us this time. We thank you for traveling the country with us on this edition of America's Heartland. We are always so pleased that you can join us.
Have you checked out our America's Heartland website yet? We've got video from all of our programs and lots more information. You'll find us at americasheartland.org. And remember that we've got lots going on in all of our social media venues as well. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time right here on America's Heartland.
You can purchase a DVD or Blu-ray copy of this program. Here's the cost. To order, just visit us online or call 888-814-3923.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand. In America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by Farm Credit, financing agriculture and rural America since 1916. Farm Credit is cooperatively owned by America's farmers and ranchers. Learn more at farmcredit.com. Crop Life America, representing the companies whose modern farming innovations help America's farmers provide nutritious food for communities around the globe.